Hello, everybody. This is John Marola on Keeping It Real, Section 5 Football. This is our 9th episode, and we are, like I said, we're just moving right along. And today I have on my far right, my partner is back from Florida, Paul Brigandy, Section 5 Hall of Famer, Paul Brigandy. Paul, welcome back.
Thank you, Johnny. Glad to be back. And we got a great podcast today. Looking forward to this one.
Yes, we do. And our man in the middle today from McQuaid, the head football coach, is Bobby Bates from McQuaid. Bobby, thanks for being here.
Thank you guys for having me. This is great. I'm in between two greats right here. So I really appreciate you guys asking me and having me on.
Thank you very much. And before we get started, I'd like to go back and say, if you have not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe now. Hit the like, hit the bell. And we're always looking for feedback. I'm planning on, at the end of our episodes, to have my email. And then if you'd like to email us about things that you like or things you'd like to get improved, please just email us. Plus, I have a work number now for Keeping It Real. And that number is 585-484-7734. And if you'd like to call in, I will put it on Facebook because we are not live. But I will put it on Facebook as far as when our next episode will be. So that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Paul, and we're going to start going.
Well, I'm going to ask Coach Bates right away. How did Coach Bates, when did he decide he wanted to get into this teaching profession and coaching profession? And was there any other choices before he made that he thought about?
It's a great question. And when you guys asked me to come on and said that you might ask me this, I started reflecting and thinking about that a little bit. And whenever I think about how I got into coaching and got into this world, it was really right place, right time. I was just out of college. I was about a year out of college, and I had gone out to California, out to San Diego for a year.
Oh.
And I had come back, and I was, trying to figure out what am I going to do. And at that time, Tom Zaccardo was the head football coach at McQuaid.
Yep.
And what happened was, so I played football and baseball with his sons growing up, with Tommy and Michael. Mm-hmm. Great kids, great athletes, really, really awesome people. And so I grew up playing ball with Tom Zaccardo, old Tom Zaccardo, with his kids. Mm-hmm. And Tom called me up. It was in the summer of 2006. Okay. And he goes, I want to talk to you. Why don't you meet me at the Irondequoit Town Lounge? So, do you remember the ITL?
Oh, yes,
the old ITL?
Yes.
It's not even there anymore, but
yes.
We sat in the back corner table, and I didn't know what he really wanted to talk about. I knew that he was the coach there. I was hoping that he maybe had like a volunteer opportunity for me. I knew that I wanted to get into coaching. And he asked me to be his head JV coach. So, I jumped right onto it. But the reason that I was first wanting to coach football was I grew up with it. My father was a coach at East Rochester under Don Quinn, and my brother was a coach. When I was born, my brother Dan was playing football at Alfred at the time.
Right.
Yep.
And I think I went to my first football game when I was 10 days old. I believe it was Alfred versus Cortland was my first game. But, growing up, it was, Friday nights I was going to East Rochester. I was the ball boy. I was the water boy. I was in the locker room after the games. I was hanging up jerseys after we washed them after games.
Yep.
That was my Friday night. Saturday afternoons, it was, what game are we going to? Are we going to my brother's game? Or are we going to go watch and scout another game? And this is all when I'm, 6, 7, 8 years old doing all of this, and then playing Vince Lombardi and for Irondequoit at the time and on Sunday. So, just growing up, I was around football a lot, and I was around coaches a lot. And, the dinner table or the post games were, you just played a game. Now you just have to dissect the whole game. So it was, I just grew up around it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when Tom Zaccardo asked me to coach, I immediately jumped at it. Absolutely. And then it was like, oh crap, what do I do now? Like I have to go. It wasn't like, oh, go be a volunteer and coach a position coach. He was like, you're going to be the head JV coach, and I'm like, okay, I've got to get my roster together. I got to get my staff together. What am I going to run? What are we going to do offensively, defensively, special teams wise? So um, it went from like being a really, really awesome moment to like an oh crap moment.
Yeah.
But that's where it started off, and that's how I got into it. And thank you to Tom Zaccardo for giving me the opportunity. And with somebody who has no coaching experience, I was 22 years old, and he asked me to be the head JV coach. I think about it now. If I had to go hire a head JV coach, I don't know if I'd be looking at a 22-year-old. I'd be looking at somebody who's had a little bit more experience. And so I'm blessed that he gave me that opportunity to do it. And then I went under his leadership for a few years and just learning the game and learning how to run a team, how to manage a program. And at the same time, so I actually did it backwards. I got into coaching first, and then I got my teaching job.
Okay.
So I did do some substitute teaching in between. But so I was hired in 2006 to be the JV head coach. I was hired as a phys ed teacher in 2007. So I did it a little backwards, and then Tom moved to Buffalo in 2009, and I was hired by McQuaid Jesuit to be the head coach in 2009. So it's kind of how I got into it. It was a childhood of growing up around the game and going to games every weekend and going to college games and being around staffs, and it was just a lot of fun.
Well, and both your dad, your brother were in education.
Yep.
So you had a good lead, and so
Sure.
you knew from them, and they were probably helpful. And that's what I want to move on to the next question is, you mentioned Tom Zaccardo getting started. You had a dad and brother that were involved in coaching. Who were some of your mentors when you started the game that helped you as a young coach? And then as you grew and, through the years, people that you look up to, idolized, look to as role models in the coaching profession?
Danny Fichter.
Oh.
Danny Fichter.
Okay.
So Coach Fick was, in high school, he was my defensive backs coach.
Okay.
He was our defensive coordinator when I was at Irondequoit. When Wade Bianco was the head coach, Danny was the defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. So I learned a lot of the game from him. Mm-hmm. And then when I got hired at McQuaid under Tom, Danny was the defensive coordinator for Tom Zaccardo.
Okay.
So now here I am. I'm trying to run a JV team and put all that together. And I went to Danny a lot for a lot of, any questions, how do I handle this situation? How do whether it was scheme or whether it was parents, it was, how to run the off-season weight room, So Danny was huge in that. And then, if you fast forward some years, I ended up leaving McQuaid and going to Irondequoit with Danny, where Danny was the head coach and I was his offensive coordinator. But so much of what I've learned, my approach to the game, scheme, everything that goes into it, just your mentality about football, mm-hmm. A lot of it is driven from Danny Fichter for sure. And he's just a tremendous guy. He was in our wedding. He's one of my best friends. And talk about a guy who is just, taking his knowledge in football, but then in his, sports performance world, and training athletes, he's just done remarkable things. So Danny Fichter was a huge mentor to me. The other person that I really looked up to, didn't talk to him as much, but just looked up to him and just the way he went about his business and the way he ran his program was Chris Battaglia.
Okay.
I got my butt kicked by him every week or every year.
Yeah.
But, Chris this guy was winning sectional championships, winning state championships. How did you do it, Chris? How did you go about your business? Right. And I love that. Dave Neiman, very successful coach. How did you go about it? Tony Lapani, very successful coach. How did you go about doing it? To me, it was more about who are the best guys in this field currently? Who are the best guys in our area? that are doing this, and they're doing it year in, year out. They're not just building success, they're sustaining success. And those gentlemen all did that. So whether they know it or not that they were a mentor to me, they were, because I was watching them.
I mean, they were the model of success.
Absolutely. And building success is really, really tough, but sustaining success is even, I think, is harder. And those coaches all did it. And then, you go back, and I think about, the conversations that I used to have with my parent, or my dad and my brother, and guys in the football world. Your name comes up all the time. George Giordano comes up all the time. Don Santini comes up all the time. Don Quinn, all those legendary coaches. Your father comes up all the time. Like, those names all come up all the time in conversations about Section 5 football.
Yep.
And it's just really, and I think the thing that they all had in common was sustained success. They built a program, they treated kids the right way, and they sustained success year in, year out. And that to me is the toughest thing in this world.
Well, you got to definitely have it going there at McQuaid. 5 consecutive sectional titles. You got great numbers at all the levels.
Yeah.
The kids are involved in this program, and they look to the upperclassmen as the role models that how to be a successful program. And I guess, what would you tell young coaches out here trying to build a program? What are some of the real important keys, to reach that success, and some of the things that, some of the roadblocks along the way that you had to go through, the knocks you take, but to get to where you want to be?
A couple things come to mind. The first thing is trust. Trust is a huge piece. So, and there's many layers to this. So, first thing you got to do is you've got to build a staff that you trust. You've got to be surrounded by people that you trust, and surround yourself with people that all have the same goal in mind, the same mentality in mind. And I think one of the reasons that we've been successful at McQuaid is I have a staff that I trust. I trust those guys with everything, because we're all on the same page all the time. And we've been able to build a staff now that's been together for about 7 or 8 years, which is tremendous. And because, there's a lot of opportunities out there for guys to get jobs. And I've got 5 former head football coaches on staff.
That's fantastic.
And that is, so I've got guys that have been in the shoes that I walk, right? They know how to do it, but now they know what it was. Now they know what it was like, or know what they wanted it to be like with great assistants, and they know how to be a good assistant. And so trust is huge. Trust in your players, developing and building that trust amongst the kids in your program. That is huge. What the next piece of that is the process. And I'm not just talking about the process to get wins or to get sectional. It's the process from when those kids walk into school as 6th, 7th graders at McQuaid. How do we get them into our program and develop that process throughout their whole time there at McQuaid? The academic piece, the spiritual piece, the athletic piece. Are you being a good person? Are you a good kid in the building? Are you a good kid outside of the building? And then the process within our program and developing, our mottos or our slogans or our standards. I get a little hesitant when we talk about rules in our program. I don't like talking about rules so much. I like talking about, this is the standard. This is what you're supposed to do. And how do I train our coaches to coach the standard? How do I train our players to understand that the standard is extremely important in the process? And that to me is huge. And we've been able to sustain that over the past few years, and we've kept the same process. We've kept the same slogans. We've kept the same mottos and standards. The the signage in our locker rooms, the signage when you walk into my office, it doesn't change from year to year. It stays the same.
Mhm.
And I think that's really important because it is the process. So a kid who walks in my office as a sixth grader or walks in the locker room as a sixth or seventh grader, he sees the same verbiage. We speak the same language. I think that's so. You asked the question as a young coach coming into this profession. That stuff doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
You have to build that, but building a staff that you trust and building a process within your program that you're going to sustain over the next however many years is really important.
With a big program like you have, you're talking way over 100 kids in a football program.
We've got about 152 right now.
From the youngest level to
Correct.
the varsity level. And again, your name's on the side of the truck when they talk about McQuaid football. And we see this all throughout the section where some of these schools have declining numbers in kids playing football. We see less two-sport, three-sport kids. And how do you deal with, especially at a place like McQuaid, where you have a great involvement where kids, are playing basketball, wrestling, they are lacrosse players, rugby players. How do you keep, the workouts and keep everybody involved, and what freedoms do they have to participate in other sports to some of the football commitments you may offer?
It's a great question, and it's something that we talk about a lot as coaches. To me, and my theory and my message is always, you're playing another sport. You are not just a football player.
Mhm.
The days of the three-sport athlete are very few and far between, right?
Yes.
There's not many three-sport athletes anymore. But you better be a two-sport athlete. You better be playing something else. You
Mhm.
better be going and getting coached by somebody else. You better be part of a different team. And I love that. The kid that's on the pitcher's mound and in the bottom of the seventh inning, and he's got to strike this guy out.
Right.
I want that guy on the football field.
Yes.
The guy who's on the foul line with the game on the line, and he's got to drain these two. I want that guy.
He's involved with competition.
The kid who's in the wrestling team, I want that kid. I don't want the kid who just goes to the weight room every day.
Yeah.
You're not competing. Yes, you can develop competition within the weight room. Though you definitely can. But I want the kids that are playing other sports. And to build on what you're asking, I'm not in a world where it's basketball is like year round, baseball is becoming football's not as year round as it is. Well, you go down south and stuff like that. Yes, it becomes a little bit more year round with spring ball, and certainly at the next level, it's a little bit more year round. I have really kind of taken a step back from the off season a little bit. Not that I'm not around my kids and I talk to them, I communicate with them all the time, but I'm not going to sit there and force them to go to something that I don't know is necessarily important. I think it's also very important for a kid to be a kid.
Yes.
It's important to,
Right.
if you look at even the summertime when now you're really gearing up for football and we have a great summer program that we run, but those kids all get 3 or 4 day weekends.
Mhm.
All right, go be a kid.
Yep.
We don't do much in the evening. Go be a kid.
You have the family vacations.
You got family vacation.
You
You've got the social aspect. You've got they got girlfriends. They're playing summer baseball or they're playing summer lax. I'm not big on making them do a whole ton of stuff in the months from December to June. I've stayed back, and some people might be like, Coach, how do you do that? Or why do you do that? We're with our kids all the time. I'm not saying I'm not with our kids. What I'm saying is I don't think it's important. I don't think it's necessary to make stuff mandatory throughout the off season.
Yep.
And we start getting into June and July. All right, hey, we're going to be lifting 3 days a week.
Yep.
But again, you're going to have a 4 day weekend.
Mhm.
I'm not making you come in over the weekend. I'm not making you come in at night. When we get into camps in August, all right, hey, but that's already projected now. Hey guys, these 2 weeks in August on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights of these 2 weeks, you got to be with us.
Mhm.
And then when we start on whatever date it's going to be this year, the 24th or the 22nd, now you're with us.
Now, I remember when we were coaching years ago, you know, we coached as far as the kids that we had, and I'm getting the same thing I think from you as far as your kids.
Yeah.
You know what they're good at. You know what they need to get better at. You know how much time they should spend on football at the time in the off season. And the thing you said about them competing on the same exact, there's nothing better in the world than seeing, like I said, a young man being a pitcher. He needs that.
Yeah.
He needs that strike
Yeah.
in the seventh inning, or a kid in track that's
Yeah.
running.
He's on the blocks and he's got to win this race.
His mind and body is focused on that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than that.
No, because when you call on that kid on Halloween night to go make a play, he's been there before.
Yeah.
He hasn't been there in between these lines, but he's been in that situation mentally.
His mind's been there. Yeah. His body was prepared to be there.
And to me, that's the most important thing. And how many of our kids are going on and playing Division I ball, professional ball? Why am I going to pigeonhole this kid into saying you just have to do this? You're just playing football. No way. Go play sports. Go play. Go compete. Go do something else. And
it goes. Those 4 years go by fast.
No doubt.
Yeah, they do.
No doubt.
So,
and I don't know about you, but those were some of the best 4 years.
They were
from an athletic standpoint, from a socially and all that stuff. Those were some great years. Those are fun years playing sports. So, kids, go play sports.
Yep.
And I guess my message to other coaches, is allow your kids to do that. And I think a lot of people do it. I think there was a period of time where guys were like, no, we just got to focus on one sport. I think that's starting to make a shift again. I think guys are seeing the importance of multi-sport athletes. It's really important.
That actually leads us into one of the main reasons we're going to be here today. Is this is our rivalry segments, and John, as a former player and coach at Aquinas, maybe you could talk a little bit about what it was like as a player back in the day. Looking forward to the McQuaid game, and
when I played at Aquinas, I played when it was an all boys school, and McQuaid was all boys, so that rivalry, two Catholic schools getting together, and playing, my mind was so involved in that. As a player, your mindset is so much different than as a coach. I can go back and tell you, there was a time when we were playing Fairport in sectionals when I was playing, and my father's upstairs and he's on the couch sleeping. Saturday, the day of the game, and I'm pacing back and forth, pacing back and forth. He looked up at me. He's like, "What's wrong?" I said, "It was a game tonight.
It's game day.
Yeah, it's game." And my dad's like, he turned around and went back to sleep. But as a coach, coaching the game, what we would do, and we talked a little bit off air on this, is we had a lot of coaches at Aquinas that played at Aquinas. Mm-hmm. Myself, Bob Diator, Mark Magliocco, Derek Iannacino, Danny Camillo. So we would all take a night and we would talk about our experience playing McQuaid. And like we said earlier, the kids know.
Oh, yeah.
They know. When it's Aquinas playing McQuaid, McQuaid playing, they know. So you really don't have to rah-rah it. You just got to try to let the kids know, listen, this is how we're going to go about this week. This is what's going on. So it's not a surprise. It's not a normal week, but it is a normal week because you got to play. The bottom line is you got to perform. Yeah.
The more you can keep that a normal week, I think as a coach, the better.
Yes.
Because like you're saying, and I think you're absolutely right. The more you hype it up, the more you add attention to it, the more you force things in meetings, the more you force things in your communication with the kids that week, everybody just gets more, they get tight. And that's not the game you want to be tight for. You want to be listen, the hype of that game is going to tighten you up enough. I've done all different things, all different models of how to approach that game. And we've had people come in and guest speak at the team.
Yep, yep.
And we've had people, give their input about the game. And honestly, the best weeks are the best weeks of practice and prep that we have for those weeks are the weeks that we don't even mention the other school that we're playing, and, something else about the rivalry with Aquinas, and it is awesome. It is a great rivalry, and it's one of the best, I think, in New York State. Is the coaches and the kids from Aquinas and the kids from McQuaid and the coaches from McQuaid, like, we all get along with each other. Like, everybody thinks it's this big hated rivalry. I don't think it is. What do we always joke about? We love you guys 51 weeks out of the year.
Exactly. Exactly.
And this week we're playing each other. We all want to go out. We all want to win, and we want to prep for it the right way. But at the end of the day, it's a great rivalry. But we love each other. We're all in this football world and family together.
It really is, and it's become that. I think back in the day, more or less, when it was boys and boys, it was more heated. It was heated just because that's the way it was back then.
McQuaid Aquinas kids have really good friendships.
Oh, I noticed that. Yeah,
these kids they talk about, my buddies from Aquinas or my buddies from McQuaid. Like, they all talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a great rivalry, and it's always going to be a great rivalry, and we'll never get rid of it, and we're always going to play it. And
right now, the pendulum is going the McQuaid way.
Yep.
For years up until when you broke that string, and now you're the hunted. Right now it's
12 games in a row we lost. And Tags was the head man for those games, and just never could get past them. And he always had something. He always had an answer for everything, and he had really good players, and it was he had a great staff, and it was 12 games, and so it wasn't 12 years because there were a couple of years we played doubled up. Played, in my first year as a varsity coach in 2009, we played in the regular season. We were both 6-0, and we played a game over at St. John Fisher. Yeah, this is 2009, and I think it was one of the best high school football games. It was an overtime game. I think they said there was like 5,000 or 6,000 people there. It was an awesome experience and an awesome game to be a part of. But that year we played them again in the sectional finals, and they beat us. So we've had some years where we've played them twice in a year, once in a year. But it was 12 years in a row that we.
They had the pendulum was going that way,
and I heard about it every single year. I heard about it all the time. So it was. So when you say the pendulum, but it doesn't feel like it's swinging when it's that game week. That's for sure. It's and my wife can tell you, I'm a nervous wreck, and trying to get ready for that game, just because it is a little bit of an added pressure, but it's fun. Like,
fun.
We're coaching high school football, and you got a great rivalry, and people talk about it, and you go back classes and generations go back and they talk about their experience with it. It's fun.
Game. And what's interesting too with that game, just the different venues you guys have played. I mean, back in the day, they'd play it at Hollander Stadium.
Sure.
You played at both McQuaid. You played at Aquinas. You played at Frontier Field.
Yep.
For game. You played in sectionals at St. John Fisher and other different locations. Brockport State. So you played that game a lot of venues.
And
the Frontier Field one. That was that was the first one. That was
a breakthrough. That
was the one. Yeah, that was a great game. It was opening day.
And
but then you talk about, like, we had guys from Aquinas coming over and helping line in the field. We met there. We were bringing equipment in. We each got to practice there that night or that week. It was just fun. It was just a fun week. And it started off the season that year, and then we ended up seeing each other again in the finals.
Yes, and over at Brockport State.
At Brockport that year, and we won it by 3 points in the championship game.
Yep,
it was just and the game at Frontier, it came down to the last minute drive, and
we would tell our kids, this is when we played McQuaid as we were coaches. We would tell our kids, this is why you came to Aquinas, to be in this game, to be in this atmosphere.
It's great memories.
Because you don't get that really against anybody else.
No.
You don't get the Aquinas McQuaid thing. playing anybody else.
No, you don't.
You know, and
It's neat.
and we would tell the kids, this is why you are here.
It's fun to be part of that, and you can just think about all the kids that have played in that game, and all the memories that they have from that rivalry game and that rivalry week. It's just it's just really neat to be part of.
And one of the most touching McQuaid Aquinas games, and a fantastic person, the late great Gary Parisi.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget when he was battling his cancer.
Yeah.
And he was at that game, and at the end of the game, they brought him out, I think, to the midfield with your team. And then when it was a couple of days later, then he passed. But he was there, to be part of that victory celebration.
That game was March 19th, and Coach Parisi sat in his car with his wife at the corner of the end zone at Aquinas. Tony Bianchi said, yes, Gary, of course you can, get down there. And he had his. Before the game started, I brought over his headphones.
Oh, okay.
And I had
awesome.
his headphones, and so he was able to listen to me the whole time. And I have some great memories of that night and some things that he said to me that night in game that I'll never forget. And we were able to pull off the win that night. And so that was the first game of the spring season after COVID. And but yes, after the game, we got Coach Parisi out to midfield. He got to hold the trophy, and the kids surrounded him. It's you bring that up, and it's it's been 4 years since that happened, because he passed away on March 24th. So we all those memories in my phone were just coming back. And I was looking at all the pictures and sharing them with the guys on the team.
And those are the things, again, the McQuaid Aquinas, and as we know, Coach Parisi was as great a football coach, was even better person.
Yep.
And that was a memory that will stick.
You talk about a mentor. Coach Parisi was a mentor of mine. I still have I have his binder still in my office. I have all his stuff still, and I'm never going to get rid of it. And his wife works at the school now, so we get to tell Coach Parisi stories often. Usually they involve some sort of food, Rockies, tomato salad and bread is what is it? It's a meal in itself.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Those are a lot of the memories of that game.
Absolutely, and glad to be a part of it. Glad to share those with him.
Did you ever coach against your brother or father in the game?
Never coached against my father. My father retired. My father retired when I was not even in high school yet.
Okay.
So I never coached against him. Never coached against Dan. Did play against him. I played against him.
Okay.
Our last high school football game was a crossover game with Hilton, and I'll say it, and I say it anytime I talk to him. We beat them 50-14 that night.
You had that bragging right for every Thanksgiving, Christmas at that table.
Anytime he wants to get the mashed potatoes first, I go, no.
That's great.
But yeah, it's been really neat to have Dan on staff with us over at McQuaid. He does our modified program, and But I say he does our modified program. Dan coaches throughout the whole program. He's with us at every varsity practice he can be at. He's at every varsity game. He's the first guy there. He's really great to have around, and a guy who he loves football. He loves being at McQuaid now. He had a tremendous time and career with Rich Lapani over at Hilton.
Right.
And so it's Dan's a great person to have in your program, and the kids love him.
Absolutely.
So. When I started my first couple of years over at Greece Olympia. Then Chris got the job over at Aquinas back in the 80s, and Dan was our offensive line, defensive line coach, and we have some, because we were all in our 20s back then. So
I don't want to know.
Those pre-games are just, they go down and like they're historic. Your brother and Chris and I were just we were crazy.
But we're saying a lot of names here. We're bringing up a lot of coaches in Section 5 history, and it's just, and that's in my eyes, okay, I'm 41 years old. These are the guys that I grew up hearing about and listening to stories about,
Mm-hmm.
and guys who have been part of Section 5 football for a long time. And I'm just happy to be part of, you know, not legacy, but just part of that family of football coaches that have.
Oh, it's a fraternity.
It is a
It
fraternity.
really is.
Yeah.
And,
You know, my first varsity game as a head coach was against you. It was a Saturday night at East High. And it was like a 7 o'clock kickoff, and I remember sitting in the office that day. Saturday night game, so it wasn't Friday night.
Right.
So you had all day Saturday to stew about it.
Right.
And I remember being in the coach's office, and Danny Fichter looking at me, and I'll never forget him saying this. He goes, "You could make coffee nervous right now," because I was beside myself. I didn't know what I mean. I at that time I was 26 years old. I'm the head of a varsity program at McQuaid. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no clue what's going on, and trying to coach a football game. But that was over at East High.
Well, that's great, though. But yeah, we all have, it's interesting, how you look at the game when you first start out to now where you're at,
Yeah.
And even, sometimes, how when you put together quality people on your staff,
Yeah.
how you can delegate different things to the different
That's
coaches.
huge.
And, as both being an assistant and being a head coach, how as an assistant you'd like to be treated in your involvement,
Sure.
and as the head coach when you've got to make the tough decisions.
Absolutely, and that's. I look at myself as a 25-year-old football coach versus now as a 40-year-old football coach, and it's night and day. You're able to slow things down a little bit more. What's really important. Some of the things that you thought were important are not important. Obviously everybody wants to win, and I want to win just like anybody else. But developing those relationships with the kids, and it's not the record, it's not the amount of sectional titles. It's the kid texting you like, "Hey coach, just wanted to say hi," or "Hey coach, I'm getting married." Hey coach, my wife and I are having our first child. Like those are awesome when you get those messages, and that's what it's all about. But
when I was younger, having Facebook, and I wasn't a big Facebook person, but as I got older and I coached guys, and now the guys that I coached are living they're all over the United States now. They have their families. It's good. I got onto Facebook because I stay in contact with them.
Yeah.
And hey, how's you're talking about I just had a guy the other day. And his wife just had their third child. That stuff is priceless.
That stuff's priceless. Another thing that is really special for me throughout this whole process is being with my wife, Rachel. And you guys both know Rachel. And she is an amazing person, a wonderful
Absolutely.
wife. She loves football. She loves the season. And now we have a 5-year-old son named Augie.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the greatest things over the past 5 years is watching him come up through the program.
Yeah.
The kids love him. I mean, it is tradition now that the kids fist bump Augie when they walk off the field.
Right.
Yeah.
It's tradition now that him and Rachel come out to practice and they run around. They run through the agility bags.
Yeah.
But Rach is just so awesome with the season and the time commitment, but she loves the game. She loves the team. She loves the camaraderie. She loves the parents. And the parents of our players, like they're so great with her. You talk about a family, like it's really become a great thing, and it's neat to see that. So
to have a supportive wife that
she's
involved with.
She's amazing.
Right.
It's just as important as having good kids.
Absolutely.
Having a good that's right on the same level.
Yeah.
All the coaches you talked about, I'm thinking, Chris, marrying my sister,
Yep.
Terry.
Yeah.
But Terry, allowing Chris. your wife. You know, that is so important, having that foundation of your
Yep.
family, you know, and your good friends and your coaches
Yeah.
around you. You know, that makes everything.
You guys know it. It's, you leave the practice field. You don't leave the practice field. Like it comes home with you. The film comes home with you. But there is there is a point. I think this is important for young coaches to understand is you do have to find a separation. You do have to find your time where I'm going to put my stuff down. My call sheet can go down for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
We need to spend this time together. We need to go do this,
Mhm.
whatever it might be. And the fall's such a great time around here to go do fun fall things. Yes, football's important, but the family's more important.
No, definitely, definitely. And that was my question I had when we talked earlier was, what when you're not doing football? I know I know what your answer is, but you know, say what is your downtime?
I do love being with our family,
Yeah.
and my kid is, what's he involved in now? Baseball's coming up. He's doing karate. He did some basketball. The kid loves golf. Yeah, I mean, we get him. We live right near Deerfield Country Club, so
Oh, okay.
we get him out to Deerfield as often as we can just to swing it. We were at the simulator last night. Yeah, but just spending that time with the family and going over to my in-laws' house and watching Sunday football.
Mm-hmm.
You know that's great. But then so now you're talking about in season. Out of season now. It's just as much time together and doing fun things together. We just in February we went on a cruise and that was amazing. And
Nice.
we got a trip planned in the beginning of the summer when school ends. So
Okay.
it's what hobbies do I have right now? Right now,
Yeah.
no, my family is
Your
my
family,
hobby.
yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love hanging out with them and being around them. I wish I was a better golfer. I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know how to hunt.
Yeah.
Guys. I know there's a lot of coaches that do hunt. I never got into it.
Yeah.
And my family didn't do that.
Yeah, my family didn't do it either. So
a lot of it depends on. You don't play an instrument, do you?
No, gosh, I'm so not inclined with music. I love going to shows, love going to concerts and all that. But I think Rach and I and Augie, we just like to have a lot of fun together and whatever it might be. Went on an awesome hike yesterday through our neighbor has like 60 acres of woods.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so but like that's fun,
Yeah.
And it's not all football all the time. And I think it's important as a young coach coming up in the profession is to make sure you find that separation. And you've got to be able to leave. You got to be able to leave the playbook at the office sometimes.
Well, every once in a while. Yep.
Yes. No, that was exactly what I was going to say too.
Going back to the Aquinas McQuaid stuff, I was just going through my mind. My 4 years there, coached it at 16 years. There's 20 years of my life that, on that Saturday or Friday night we were playing, and there's nothing like it around. The only ones that we can compare to are maybe the people that we're going to have on our upcoming shows would be, our next one out is Mike Monticelli from
Calmon Leroy. Yeah.
Great rivalry.
And going back into this, these rivalries I've had a piece of. The Aquinas McQuaid, I coached in it. The Leroy Calmon, I've said, my mother's from Leroy, my father's from Calmon.
Yep.
I've been to, my share of those games. The Fairport ER games.
Little Brown Jug.
My best story I ever had from that was 1977. I'm sure you were.
Nope, wasn't there.
Okay. I was a ball boy coming out of the locker room at Fairport, and the hill's in front of you, and the football field's down to your right. And I look to the left at A-Raw Road, and there are people sitting down there. And I go to my dad, I go, the game, these people came and see her. My dad they just want to be here.
Yeah.
And I think that reminds me of all these rivalries is people that were involved in football just want to be there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think TV, there's varsity media now. You know,
getting the games.
getting the games, as far as just watching it. Back then, we were at games, even now. But back then, I mean, there was no varsity media around to do that. And, it's just, it hasn't taken the rivalries away. Just, I think kids in general, this is one of the things when Paul and I were talking, you asked us, why'd we get involved in this? To let people know, Section 5 football, it's something special.
No doubt about it. It is. It's a great fraternity,
Right.
but high school football itself is I think is one of the best and most pure things going.
The
right.
Friday night games, nothing like it.
It's great, and we've been blessed to have some pretty decent crowds at games. And then you talk about the McQuaid Aquinas game. I mean, those games get filled up pretty good.
Yeah.
And just to be part of it and have kids be part of it. But, what you guys are doing here and just, getting the word out, continuing to get the word out, and keeping people informed about Section 5 football.
Absolutely.
It's really important. And it's pure. High school football is pure. It's not a business.
Yeah.
And as you start moving up the ladder now, we're seeing it turn more to a business than anything, and that's what I love about high school football.
And one other thing is that I do want to mention. We mentioned this, I think, on the last episode that Andre Fontenette was going to take over the Gates job. And now you're having coaches from the Bob Bates coaching tree move on to become head coaches, and it's an honor to you to have a guy who came through your program, and now it's going to be his turn to run a program.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and I'm so proud and happy for Coach Fontenette. It's been a goal of his and a dream of his to be head of a program, and he's just done a tremendous amount of great work with us over at McQuaid. And I think I heard a coach say a long time ago, if you're going to have great coaches on your staff, don't expect them to be there that long, because they are going to go and get a job. And I'm very happy for him, and good luck with to the future success of Gates Schuyler, because they got a great guy. He's gonna do a tremendous job.
And the other one is a longtime friend of ours that had been in the coaching profession a long time, that he's going to step down and retire. Jim Lemline, a fantastic football coach that has seen it from those Leroy games. At our Greece Arcadia, we coached together at East, and his coaching career at McQuaid, and he was really a treasure to have on the staff.
No doubt, great word. Lemmer's awesome. He came to us a number of years back, and he did a lot with the indoor-outdoor track. And then we got him into football again, got him back in there, and he was helping out with the freshmen, and then he did about a year of that, and I said, Lemmer, you're coming up with us. And it's just been great just to have a really good mind there, and a guy who's been through years and years of experience, and he's seen it all, right? And for him to be able to share those, and me being able to, talk to him about some things or situations that come up, how would you handle this, or how do you see this going, or what should we do in this? Just to have that treasure, as you said, that's a great word.
We, Johnny, I know we look forward to having Coach Lemline with us on some of the Friday nights, probably tailgating with us now. And, when it's raining, Coach will probably leave that game.
It's okay, I understand.
We've been there, done that. But,
actually,
what are we serving at the tailgates?
Oh, we've had a lot of different. What was it when we had at Hilton?
The Hilton was a subset. We had subs, and then macaroni and cheese and all that, chips and all that. Actually, we were at your Hilton game tailgating. At Hilton. Yes. That was a beautiful night.
That was a great night. That was a great night.
Johnny brought the tablecloth and everything.
Oh, yeah. We were sitting here. No, this one might be coming from Orlando. No. But, that's our first tailgate we had.
And we would have visitors. I think we saw Hall of Fame coach Don Hagreen
came
by our tailgate, and we're running into people. So we'll add Lemline to this.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. No, and hey, all part of the experience, right?
It is.
Friday night lights.
Friday night
and probably one of no better place to play than at Hilton High
Oh,
School
especially
on a Friday night.
It was just a beautiful
Yeah,
night.
They get great support out there.
They do get great support, and the fog's rolling around.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Everything.
And I'll tell you, when we were tailgating, we were out tailgating, and next to us there had to be 20, 25 kids from Hilton, and they were having their own. And I'm going to tell all the Hilton people, those kids were awesome.
Yeah, they were.
They just enjoyed their time. They were playing music, and it was just a great atmosphere just to be around. This is what we're trying to tell people is, experience this stuff. It's real. It's a lot of fun.
Go to the games.
Go to the games. If you got a young kid, take them out to high school football games. They'll love it. They'll love it.
They will love it. I've been to my share of, college. I do security when the Bills are at St. John Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this before to people is, you get to know the players, you get to, know the coaches. And I remember, you talk to the players, they're in the pros, it's a job. This is a job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When they're in college, they're all major D1 kids. It's a job.
Yep.
I always get them though. So where'd you go to high school? And every time it's the little boy.
Yeah.
The little boy in them comes out.
Sure.
And they start talking. And I remember Sammy Watkins was the one. He told me probably about 15, 20 minutes about him when he was in high school. Yeah. And you can just see the love.
Yep.
The love in that. And that's just awesome. That's stuff it's not always about dollars and cents.
No. It's about the experience and getting out there and seeing it. And that's why one of the best things is having my son come to all the games. I know at any point in a game I can look down to the end zone and I can see him running around. He might not be watching, but he's running around playing and having a good time. And then when he runs out on the field after.
I see. Yeah.
Those are the.
But for any kid coming up, parents, take your kids out to high school football games. It's a lot of fun.
Those experiences.
That's where I started. That's where I started doing it. That's all I did growing up was go to high school games.
You know what? One thing I do enjoy when I go to your games is the games. I love when your team comes on the field and the student body's behind them because you don't see it any. I don't see it anyplace. But they all come out together as one, and it's cool. It's nice to see it. It makes a part of the experience, a part of the atmosphere,
part of the tradition there.
And it's neat because the weeks that we do that, it gets a little juiced up in school. We're coming out as one. It's
and the one on the side of all the players' helmets. I think that is just
nobody on our team wears the jersey number 1.
I noticed that
nobody wears the jersey number 1 now. If you come to our practice, everybody has the jersey
number 1.
Okay.
So it drives our coaches nuts, but it's more than that. And then every kid on the side of their helmet, they don't have their number; they have 1. And that's something I put in a few years back. It's part of the process.
Yes,
it's part of our standard that we're going to be one. We're going to be one team, one family. Nobody's more important.
And I really love what you said about it's a standard. It's not a rule.
It's not a rule.
It's a standard. This is what we expect.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great point to say to younger coaches now. You know what I'm saying? Rules. Everybody gets a little. This is my rules.
My rules. Rules are meant to be broken. All that stuff. Standards are not.
Are not. Standards are set in stone.
Yeah.
And that's great. Anything else?
I don't have any more. If you guys have
I just want to say thank you to you guys. This is great. I really appreciate it. It's an honor. It really is an honor to be, of all the coaches and all the people that are around, and that I got a phone call from you guys to come on and talk. I was really honored and floored by that. So I appreciate it.
We loved having you. Fantastic job. Good luck in the upcoming season. Let's go for 6.
Yeah.
Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah. And I'm caught. I'm really caught because when Aquinas and McQuaid play, my love, I have, like I said, Bob Dietor is, you just talk about your guys that, Bob, my father, Bob Dietor, Jack Foote, Don Santini, Don Quinn. Those are the people. Those are the guys.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Is.
So, and I have a lot of heart at Aquinas, but being around you guys and seeing what you've done about your culture, changing your culture and your standards, making your standards, it's so important. And just watching, I've said 100 times, watch McQuaid is with their numbers. I mean, you guys have great numbers.
Yep.
So the kids are all saying, hey, I want to be a part of this. And when Paul and I were starting this up, we were saying, we were going to talk about, high school football in Rochester, and we want kids and, maybe parents, that's great. Let's be a part of that.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done. Right now, I just want to say this episode that we're doing right now is going to be out in a couple weeks. We don't go live because I have to do the editing. And we talked about that earlier. That's not my world, but it's becoming my world.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you. It's just.
I think I have no idea. It's not my world either. So.
You got to watch it.
You look like you're doing a great job.
You got to watch it. I told you about my hip cups, so hopefully we don't have any on this. But in a couple of weeks, we're going to have Coach Manaselli here and Coach Limline. We'll talk about the Calbum and Leroy, and then a week or so after that, we'll have Coach Quinn coming in with Dave Lanning. With a little brown jug here,
Airport,
and in between there, we're going to have Kyle Fenn will be in from Rydell, and Kyle.
He owes me some helmets.
Yeah,
we'll let him know.
And after that, right now, tentatively, I just got to confirm it is after all that, we're going to have Tony Jordan in.
Cool.
So that gets us into June, which gets us into February. February, we're just going to talk to some of our sponsors. We do make sure, like to say thank you to all our sponsors. During football season, we're going to be up at Premier Sports on Wednesday nights.
Fantastic.
And that'll be every week.
Every week. Yep, that'll be every week. And talking about the games that
we're playing. Recap
played.
the games.
And then the upcoming games.
Cool.
And then we're going to give out a player of the week.
Neat.
I have from George Giordano that I'm going to get emails from the coaches in Section 5, nominate a player, then we'll have the young man come in, and we're going to give him a gift certificate at Sticky Lips.
Beautiful.
So,
beautiful.
We got things in the working, like we said. We just want to make this, as best we can do. And,
better give some linemen that award.
Really? I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
Love to see those big boys that are in the trenches.
Yes, that
get some
awesome.
Get some love.
I don't care what anybody says. That's where the game's won.
Right. You're right. You're right.
And, we know that.
We all know that. So that's what we got coming up in the next couple of weeks, episodes and that. And again, if you have not subscribed, please. It helps our channel grow. People get interested in it. Let people know about our channel and what's going on with it. And I am good.
I'm good too.
Now, we don't tell you this on purpose because we do it now. It's nothing new. What we do is at the end of our show, we'll say 1, 2, 3, and we'll turn and say, keep it real, Section 5 football.
And that's how we end the
and that's how we end our show. Okay? So you good?
I'm good.
Do that. Paul, you good? Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Keeping it real, Section 5 football.
Good night. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Very good. You did great.